What a god.
No, that's you, man. With your freaking fried rice.
John.
I know, but you're gonna bring some more to the banquet, man.
Oh, yeah, so I know. What do you mean, Chogen? This is the best gift ever. It's cute, huh?
You're gonna need it.
I'll give it to you.
I posted this is a while ago.
Oh yeah.
I posted.
She put dance videos of Ronald.
I didn't know
I posted this on my story.
You should have it on top. You don't?
What's the negative 3
So, you can meet that.
Tina was like,
Romero, I will see you.
Mom, I leave it on my desk. I'll bring it tomorrow for sure.
they do that. They do that. So like,
Rios, I heard you've been coming to school but disappearing.
it's too creepy.
What's your capital? Not the last day. No, I mean,
Okay, but this is because I didn't want to use I know.
So strong. I'm like,
Why are you asking
like you are?
during lunch? I know you don't know. I'm going to tell you.
No, we're actually going
okay, guys. Again,
Oh, more people. I'll let you know.
okay, guys, a couple of announcements. Everybody, can you pay attention? If you are not of temperate bearing, you can viciously pay attention. You can like a Viking. You can say, I can't kindly pay attention. My natural disposition is kind of a little warlike, combative. So you can viciously pay attention. This will be over. We do this. Two things. Number one, I'm not scolding or shaming anyone. How many of you are yet to sign up, register for the AP exams? All of you signed up. Some of you are liars. It is impossible. In all my classes, there are 2 or 3 kids at least who haven't signed up. Every single kid has signed up. You guys are such liars. It's like it's a conspiracy of mental. Anyway, if somebody has not signed up, please be aware that today is the deadline. Alright? If you fail to do so, shh. Now, I have confidence that virtually all of you have the capacity to pass the AP exam. So I hopefully, unto the Lord, myself, that you have signed up for the exam. Keep in mind, you're not paying yet. Okay, all you're doing is registering as in Signing up online. That's all you're doing. You pay later. If you fail to do so, remember the $40 surcharge. Did you find it, people? Man, it was just here. Okay, another thing. It should be there, man. It can't just vanish. Oh! No, this is something else. It was there just this morning. Okay, guys. This morning I had a conversation with a parent, and he said, "My daughter's not doing very well in your class. Is there any hope?" Is there any hope? And then I said, I am looking to upgrade my Lexus. I drive a 430.
Oh my god.
Okay, LS 430. I've been looking to have a LS 610H. Okay, LS 600H. The car is so advanced. I don't know if I've shared it with you. It's like you can take your hands off and go in a straight lane. If you switch lanes, it will give you a warning. Hey, this car is veering right. You're gonna hit somebody else. So it gives you a warning. It will kind of veer back onto your lane. It will also parallel park. You just hit a button, it just parallel parks. Yeah, but it kind of costs $100,000. So it's huh? Oh my God! Seriously? Why would I downgrade for Tesla? No. Watch this. The cheapest Tesla now is available. I'm talking with no frills. The Tesla is available for $45,000. Okay? Yeah. No, the model you are thinking is called a Model S. That's a different model. But the larger point is this. Do you find it? No. Over there. Oh my God, yeah. Thank you. No, it was my fault. I gave him this guy. Okay, so guys, I'm letting you know you got a cheap ass Tesla for 30 or 40 grand. Okay, but if no, he's cheap.
You don't even need a Lexus gas car.
It is a cheap car. Because, just talk about connotations. I'm just talking about if you know enough about cars, if you say, I want a Tesla, okay, nowadays, it used to be, I'm going to say something, think about it and say, oh yeah, that's true. A couple of years ago, there were hardly any Teslas on the road. Nowadays, you see a fair amount of Teslas. It's not a common car, but it's not an uncommon car either. And you get a cheap Tesla for about 30 or 40 grand. But I'm saying, as opposed to somebody says, I drive a BMW. You understand? You can't get a BMW for 40 grand. A BMW starts over 80 grand. I'm just talking of prestige.
Get a Model X.
What?
Model X.
Well, what's the Model X?
That's the Model X.
Yeah, but that's the point I'm making. That Tesla doesn't have the prestige. If somebody says a Mercedes, a Lexus, everybody knows it's a luxury brand. A Tesla is not it's just a junk. Yeah.
Lexus is a luxury
You don't know much about cars then.
I'm so
Lexus.
How did they get into a conversation about
No. Okay, how many of you have heard of this rating company? I'm going to name a company. For those of you who read a little about cars, J.D. Power and Associates. You heard of J.D. Power and Associates? Okay, so you'll be shocked to learn that a Mercedes breaks down a lot. Okay, it doesn't have a good reputation. Huh? No, even Beamer. Even they're extremely expensive to fix. Okay, not necessarily because they're luxury cars, but they're not extremely well made. They don't. But the number one car, I'm talking J.D. Power and Associates, every single year that one wins awards is a Lexus. It's a luxury car that has like virtually, it's Japanese. For those of you not aware, Lexus is made by Toyota, right? It's a Toyota car. So, yeah, so the downscale car is the Corolla. Okay? That's the lowest car. Then is the Camry. Then is something I don't know if you're aware of it, it's called the Avalon. And then the uppermost, the luxury car, is the Lexus. And you can't get a good Lexus. The model is like 430 or higher. I'm talking a new model, close to 100 grand. So Tesla is like 40 grand. So you guys who say no, but Tesla is not a luxury car.
It's Model 3 though.
No, I know. But I'm just talking about I'm talking prestige-wise. Oh no. Okay, let me address your thing. If you see a Tesla on the road, it's a Tesla. Oh, but then you say, oh, so what do you drive? A Tesla? But a Model 3. Like nobody cares. Do you understand? Versus you say I drive. I say I drive. Huh?
So you told me I drive a Tesla, I'll be amazed.
Yeah. That's because we don't know much about cars.
The Model S has like a skyline with like falconing doors.
If you drive any Tesla,
I would drive myself.
if you have a Tesla, I would be okay. It doesn't matter which Tesla.
I'm saying because I know I have seen my Tesla. You say I drive a Tesla. Is that a 40 grand Tesla? You get a 40 grand?
If I see anyone pull up in any Tesla, I'm just amazed.
I would think on the spot.
Okay. Anyway, I have no idea how I came to talk about. Oh, because I was talking to the parents. I said, that's where I came. Anyway, but guys, okay, coming back. Now, every single year, you know, I was an alumni from last year. So every single year, I make a deal with students. So for those of you whose grades are languishing at the bottom, you have a C, low C, or a D, or an F. And you say, man, I'm applying to colleges. This is like a horrid grade. For those of you who care, okay, this is like your last shot. It's your last shot to bring your grades up. So here's a deal I make every single year. And the counselors are aware of the deal, and the principals are aware of the deal. Because it's my policy. And I'm sharing that with you, which is this. Today is day 69. We started review. I know we haven't been doing it in class, but I'm talking about homework-wise. We started review on day 67. So day 67, you had a chapter 2 review. Yesterday, you had a chapter 5 review. Okay, I hope it wasn't very complicated. Concepts came back very quickly. But the larger point is this. Starting from day 67 till the semester final, for those of you who are not aware of the calendar, we are about 14 days from the semester final. When we come back, you know, we have only 2 weeks left. I hope you have looked at the calendar recently. When we come back after Thanksgiving break, we have just 2 weeks left. We are taking the final. So we are seriously about like 14 working days. I know, you guys are like December, that's like a month away. I'm not counting weekends, I'm not counting the break. I'm talking working days wise, we are slightly over 10 days away from the semester final. So here's my deal that I offer to students. If there are 2 provisos just means conditions of the deal. If you keep up, now this applies to everybody and anybody. And of course, it benefits the most to kids who are at the bottom of the class. If you do every single assignment from day 67 onwards, that's number 1. Every single assignment gets done. Number 2, you must be checking your solutions. So the father I was speaking to, and he said, but I see her doing all the work. What's going on? And I said, I'm willing to make a bet because I know the person. And she kind of slacks off a little bit. And I said, first, probably she does not do the homework the same day. She's always kind of playing catch up. That's number 1. Number 2, I'm willing to make a bet. She almost never checks her solutions. So she's not even aware she's making mistakes. So on the test, like, oh, but I see her doing that. Yeah, but on the test, if she's not checking solutions. So in other words, if you don't invest the time to check your solutions against Ms. Marzu, you think you're doing it right. But the fact like, oh my God, I'm making all these mistakes, well, it's going to show up. So I was talking to Mr. Bird this morning. I invited him during lunch because he answers questions in class, but his test scores are like, I'm not bagging on him, I'm just sharing with you, that's a kind of clear case. And I invited Mr. Bird during lunch. I said, I want to talk to you. He said, in class you're fine, what's going on? Are you checking your solutions? He said, Rama, I make so many arithmetic mistakes. I said, can you just slow down a little bit? Then don't rush. I said, when you see the solution, you see the mistake you made, you shouldn't be making the same mistakes twice. And I joked, I said, you're going to make new mistakes. Don't make the same mistakes twice, because then learning hasn't happened. You make the same mistake over and over. He said, okay, I'm going to slow down. I said, this is very important. These are test scores. It's bringing your grades down, man, and you're a bright guy. But coming back, so that's exactly what I told the father. I said, so there is hope. So here's the deal. So coming back. So the deal is this. You do every single homework the day it was assigned from day 67 onwards. That's number one. And you check your solutions. You know you're doing it right. That's number one. The second thing is on the final. Because if you abide by condition number one, condition number two should kind of follow. You get a B or an A on the final, I'll just pull up your grades. So I will ignore the grades that is in the grade book and just bring your grades up disproportionately. So for example, if you have an F in the class, but you get a B on the final, and that's easily doable if you just do all the homework assignments, then I'll probably give you a C or a B minus in the class, depending on how high the B is. Am I making sense? In other words, for those of you not following, I will have the final grade overwhelm your current grade in the class. Just outweigh whatever you. You get an A in the final, I may give you a high B in the class. Like, I don't even care what your current grade is. And this is exactly what I shared with the father. I said, these are the two conditions. If she can abide by those two conditions, I'm happy because the father was like depressed, like, oh my God, the grade is like a really low grade. Should he even like study hard? Should I have a tutor? I said, no. She has the capacity to do it. It's just that there's a work ethic issue, as in she's not doing the homework the same day. And then there are good habits, sound habits of checking solutions. And I'm telling you, a kid in the other class who has like 100% on every test is Mr. Campuzano. How many of you know Campuzano? This super nice kid. In the morning, he comes at 7. I'm just telling you. Now, I understand some of you have busy lives, you have multiple AP classes, but Campuzano does not get time to check his solutions at home. He comes here at 7 in the morning every single day and he's checking the solutions. Isn't that what Javidi? Because Javidi hangs out with me in the morning too. Every single morning, Campuzano checks the solutions. And he has 100% on every test. It's not by magic. It's not by magic. Yes, he's a bright fellow, but doing homework and checking solutions makes sure that you know what you're doing. All right. And then Ms. Dong, I'm not like, I think the American expression is putting her on blast. Okay. So she said her recent test scores haven't been top notch. She usually gets good scores, and she said, "Yeah, I haven't been checking solutions carefully like I used to." But there's a reason when Ms. Marshall works so hard to give her solutions. If she's unsure, she'll call me and say, my rule is right. This is how you should do it. Because she wants the solution to be perfect. Because she knows, please understand, she knows the responsibility. Can you see? You're relying on her. So she wants to know she does it perfectly. Can you give her a wave hand, please? Anyway, so if you haven't done so, but you are quiet, make sure you register today before midnight. I don't know, it's like, I hope it's not like, oh no, it was Eastern time, at 9 o'clock. So don't push it to the last minute. Just go home, register, take like 2 minutes. If you have forgotten the codes, I know, Ms. Nguyen and Ms. Marzut sent the codes by email. Okay, otherwise you can do a picture here. Alright, today we are reviewing everybody. Today is the day of chapter 4. Oh no, chapter 4, chapter 5 review. Okay, stay with me please. We're doing an extremely thorough review of this lesson. If you will quickly copy down that function, just do a quick sketch. It doesn't have to be very precise. And then copy down what g of x is. So boy, basically what, you can do some of the problems with me, you know.
No.
What day?
No, day 69. No, seriously boy, what we're doing in AB is we're doing the review in BC. The first several problems are identical.
So this is a homework, right?
Yeah, I'm working.
I'm doing it.
You can start on it if you want.
Yeah.
Okay, so I hope you label it. Now you're going to accelerate, alright? So copy down what g of x, how g of x is defined. So in case you've forgotten, the concepts we're learning are average value, average rate of change, net change corollary, FTC. Okay, that was the lesson. So just copy the function, and then do not forget to copy that down. So they give you g of x. So I'm writing here. Okay, g of x is -1 to x. Usually they say f of t dt. Okay. This is the 2016 AP exam. So I'm showing you no surprises. If you're doing the work with me, have a look. This is the AP exam from 2006. Let me just reduce the things. Is that virtually identical? Graph of f. It's a relative min-max. What we're discussing in class. There will be no surprises. You do the homework, you do well on a test. A 4 or 5 is easy. Does it have a point of inflection? What is the absolute min-max? We're going to do that for that problem. All those examples. Wow. This is the 2016 exam. Okay, there will be no surprises. Okay, so we'll just do parts of it. So write on A. I'm just making up the questions. So I say identify the interval over which g of x is, say, decreasing. Now it's been a while, so I'm going to guide you. So nobody speaks. I'm like reteaching the entire lesson. So be in your best behavior. Do the corresponding homework tonight. You'll be sharp on this lesson. Okay. If a function is decreasing, what must we do? In general, forget this. In general, if a function is decreasing, what must we do? Or its slope should be less than 0. So should I take the slope here? Is that g dash of x? Oh! Am I finding the slope of an integral? So will FTC2 begin? So in case you've forgotten, I plug in the upper guy, which is f of x, times the derivative, which is 1, minus the lower guy times its derivative, which is 0. So that vanish. Okay. And then that should be less than 0, right? Oh! That's f of x! Yay! Can you look at the graph? So where is f of x less than 0? From -2 to, and then 1 to, that's it. That's it. That's how easy that is. Any questions? Just apply FTC2. Why did we apply FTC2? Because the slope should be less than 0. We have to take a slope of an integral. Alright? Let's do B. I'm just creating the problems. Write on B, please. I mean, they're over there, but I don't want to keep scrolling down enough. Identify the relative max of g of x. First, I'll talk about the concept, then we'll look at the. No. Just look here. Okay, nobody speaks. If I have a relative max of any function, look at me. If I have a relative max, what should be true? What changes? The slopes. The slope changes from positive to negative. So should the slope basically change from positive to negative? So basically g dash. Oh, we just already did the work, which is f. No, f. Changes from positive to negative. Can we look at the graph? So focus here, because that's the f graph. So where does f change from positive to negative? X equals 1. That's it. We already explained. That's it. It's a gimme problem. Okay, let's do C, please. C says identify the critical points of g of x. So I'm giving you thinking time. Who remembers the definition of critical point? Mr. Sarkozy?
The slope does not exist or equals 0.
Okay, the slope of g of x should be does not exist or equal to 0. So in other words, g dash of x, which is f of x, equals 0 or does not exist. Focus here. So f of x should be 0. Oh, doesn't f of x exist everywhere?
Yeah.
Does everybody get it? F of x exists everywhere. Or 0. So your two answers are x equals -1 and 1. Okay, I'm making sure you understand this. There's a kid in the other class. He asked me this clarification. He said, Rama, why is it not 0? Because the slope does not exist. Nobody speaks. Why is he getting confused? He said, slope does not exist because we have a sharp corner. What's his confusion? Nobody speaks. Now keep in mind this. F of x is 0 or does not exist. Where is he getting confused? Thank you. Mr. Javidi smartly says, isn't he looking at f dash of x? As in the slope to this guy does not exist. We just need f of x. That's why I'm kind of boxing it so you can focus. Alright, let's do D, please. D says, identify the interval over which g of x is concave down. Okay, identify the interval over which g of x is concave down. So first thing of the concept, don't look at the graph. The graph is kind of completely irrelevant initially. Mr. Benson here. If a graph is, or a function is concave down, what should we do? Don't look at it. If a function is concave down, what must we do? Concave down, negative to positive. You're mixing up min, max, and concave down, concave down. Mr. Weaver, thank you. The second derivative should be less than 0. You could say, look at me, you could say something like the slopes are increasing, slopes are decreasing, but that's useless for this problem, right? It's smarter to look at this g double dash. So g double dash. Oh, but g dash was f. Therefore, G double dash is F dash. Are you able to make that connection? Remember, for an even previous step, we had G dash was F. Should be less than 0. Just focus here. Oh, and that's F. That's F. So its slope should be negative. So it's only 0 to 2. Since basically G double dash of X, which is F dash of X, is less than 0. These are part of your notes, but that's the explanation. And then let's do E. Find the, for G of X, find the inflection point. First thing with the concept, the graph is not helping you because that's an F graph. It's not relevant to G yet. So let me test concepts. If I, in jungle, what's the definition of inflection point? It's the X value where is units. The double derivative will switch signs. So is that G double dash, which is F dash of X, switches signs. So in other words, in simple language, the slope to this guy, because that's F. The slope switches signs. Ms. Romero, where does that happen? Thank you. 0. I have a positive slope over a negative slope. I hope the concepts come back. This is not complicated stuff. And then we'll do a last problem of this kind. Write this down. F. Identify the interval over which G of X is increasing and concave down. So G dash of X, which is F of X, should be greater than 0, and G double dash of X, which is F dash of X, should be less than 0. Focus here, and then read on the graph. Nobody speaks. See over which of the sections or sub-intervals both will be true. May swim. F of X is greater than 0?
Oh wait.
0 to 1. Okay. Okay, and that will be your explanation, yeah? Since F of X is greater than 0, F dash of X is less than 0. Okay, let's move on. Let's go to G, please. Write down G. Find the average rate of change of G of X from -2 to 1. I'm going to confuse you. See if I'm going on the right track. Well, the answer is obviously no. Is this, you can write 1 over B minus A? So what is this referring to? Just M sec. So write down M sec equals G of minus all over. Okay. Should I just go about finding each of these? So sidebar. I'm going to find G of -2. Look at the board. So you say, okay, this is not a bad problem at all. Isn't G of -2 just the area from -1 to -2? Put your pencils down so we can talk about it. So I need the area from -1 to -2. What's your base? What's your height? 3. So what's your area? 3 over 2. Now careful. I'm going from right to left below the axis. So is that positive 3/2? Yeah. So write down 3/2. We're not done. That's just G of -2. What else do we need to find? G of 1. Okay. So I'm going from -1 to +1, right? From -1 to +1. Guys, we just found that guy. These are all, can you see these are all symmetric and congruent? So that's 3/2. So what's the area from -1 to +1? 3. That is 2 times 3/2. Or 6/2, which is 3. Find me the final answer then. Substitute, simplify, tell me your absolute final answer. Look down to the arithmetic, slow and steady. I did the calculus component. Do not be in a rush, don't be cocky. What'd you get, Mr. Ordan?
Yeah, 7 9s.
7 9s? don't think so. What's your adventure?
About one.
1/2?
Yeah.
Sounds about right. 1/2. Okay, check me your answer is 1/2. So that's just arithmetic. Okay. Write on H, please. Find the average rate of change of G dash from -2 to 1. Did you finish? What am I writing this time? G dash of -2. Can you give it to Dawn? She's become an expert at grading that. I hope you thanked her. I hope you thanked her.
I said I failed them.
Oh, that works too. G dash of -2 minus G dash of over -2 minus 1. Oh! But what's G dash really? F of x. Okay, you should make that connection from earlier. So, what's f of -2? -3 minus, what's f of 1? Yay! Over -3. Absolute final answer? 1. Not too bad. And the last problem of this kind, write on I. Find the average rate of change of G double dash from -1 to 1. Repeat, from -1 to 1. All of these have appeared on the AP exam. AB does not see this, but BC sees this. Repeat, average rate of change of G double dash from -1 to 1. So what am I writing this time? G double dash of -1 minus G double dash of 1 over -1 minus 1. Hey smart kids, we already did the math. What's G double dash of x after all? F dash of x, correct? So we're not just finding the slope at -1 and positive 1. Just do the counting if you need to. What's the slope at -1? Some kids said 1/3. This would be 1/3. This is probably 3. Okay, so that's 3 minus, what's the slope at 1? -3. I am going to confuse you. So is the answer 0? No, they do not collapse. So what's the absolute final answer? -3. So not too difficult, right? Just use FTC2 with concepts here. Okay, let's go to J. J says, find the average value of f of x over -2 to +2. Find the average of f of x over -2 to +2. Who remembers how we do it? 1 over 2 minus -2 integral -2 to 2 f of t dt or f of x dx. So it's 1/4. Okay, put your pencils down. So do we just need the area to go from -2 to 2? Without doing any math, just by looking at the graph, who can tell me what the answer is? Without doing any math. Is it 0? Now I'm showing you the AP sometimes will trick you. So it's there on this problem too, 2016. Okay, if you look carefully, but let me go back to the problem we were doing before we go there. If you look very carefully, are these congruent? Okay, they're asking you who's going to pay attention. Like the kids are like, man, working all kinds of math. No. Will this area collapse with that area? And vice versa. So the answer is actually 0. The average value of that is 0. Okay. So that concept has come several times. They give you congruent figures and they'll make you do some weird looking math, but it's actually quite easy if you observe the concept of congruence. These two collapse, those two collapse. Right. Oh, and the last problem of this kind, write down, again what? K. Oh no, we have like 2 more. Write down K, which is calculate the max and min value of g of x over -2 to 2.
Can you get rid of this?
Sorry?
Can you get rid of it?
Oh yeah. Let me show you. Take the mouse and just click here.
Oh, okay.
And then you can scroll down. You go here and just scroll down.
So I'll just finish what's here and then I'll turn it in.
Okay. Who, if anybody, remembers what the question is really asking for? Nobody speaks. And maybe thinking that. It says find the maximum value of g of x and find the minimum value of g of x in that interval. Mr. Banchan?
Absolutely.
Thank you. If you've gone over this, if they give you a max and min over an interval, if you're writing good notes, if they give you an interval, we are really referring to absolute max and absolute min. Emphasize that concept. We want the highest and lowest value of that guy in that interval. So I need the absolute max and absolute min. Is that clear? So let's go back to chapter 3. Who, if anybody recalls, how do we always determine the absolute max and absolute min of any function? Mr. Psychosy? We evaluate the function at the endpoints and critical points. So look at me, please. I'm going to evaluate g of x at the endpoints and critical points. Just to make a side note. So we are going to evaluate g of x at endpoints and critical points. So we need to find g of -2, g of 2. Now, stand at the board. Which are the two other critical points? G of -1 and 1. We did that earlier, right? -1 and g of 1. Once again, let's do mental math. We've done many of these earlier. We want g of -2. Is that from, we did this earlier. Look at me. -1 to -2. So the answer was 3/2. Use the concept of congruence. What's the area from -1 to +2? Wrong. From -1 to 2. Is that just 3/2? Observe the shortcut. Will these guys collapse?
Yeah.
Do I just need that area? Left to right, +3/2. This one is easy. What's the area from -1 to -1? 0. Okay. And g of 1, we did that earlier too. Is that 3? Can you write a conclusion? Again, 2 times 3/2, which is 3. So absolute max of at 1 and absolute min of at -1. Okay, write on L, please. Now, I am letting you know, I don't know if Ms. Basu called me for this question. I'm letting you know, this is the next question. I have never discussed in class. That's me kind of confessing I've been a bad teacher. The BC test had this kind of question, but I never discussed it in class, but I threw it on the homework. By the way, this is a day 15 homework. This is like 2 days before the test. So we're doing like a practice test, exactly. So kind of consolidated. And I regretted, I was going over which assignment to do today. I said, man, I never talked about this in class. But I kind of figured out that enough bright kids will figure it out. But I'm discussing it formally now. What are we on? KL, what are we on? L. So I say h of x is the integral, no, g of x, we already have g of x. G of x is the integral -1 to x f of x dx. I'm rewriting it so you understand. The question says, are there any values of x so that g of x is equal to 0? Identify all values of x in that interval, -2 to 2. So in simple language, the question says solve. Keep in mind, that's what that is. G of x is that. In simple language, you're solving this. Keep in mind, g of x just means the area under the curve from -1 to some number. So have a look. Use the concept of symmetry and congruence. Is there any value of x? So the area from -1 to x is 0. Nobody speaks. Which is the only value of x that works. -1, because -1 to -1 is 0.
Yeah, anything.
Okay. So they wanted you to use common sense. Again, -1, look at me. From here to here, we do have a positive area. Here to here, we have positive areas. Increasing positive areas. Slide with these two will cancel. Can you see? We never get 0. It will never collapse to 0. Okay, let me do a different problem. Write on n. I say h of x is integral 0 to x f of x d of x. Repeat, this time I'm starting at 0. Solve h of x equals 0. Nobody speaks. Figure out all, there is more than one answer. So figure out all the solutions. The area from 0 to x is 0. There is more than one answer. Negative 2 works. 2 works, and 0 of course. So again, for those of you unable to see, positive areas, negative areas become 0. Well, same concept here, these two will collapse. And 0 is 0. So answer is negative 2, 2 and 0. Is that clear? There's no math required, it's like eyeballing it. I've covered all of these examples. Okay, some of you, oh my god, oh okay. Oh, I did not even discuss this in the other class. Okay, okay, fine. If you copy this down, I give you the velocity function as that. Okay, and the question says, find the distance traveled from 0 to 1. So just write down distance traveled from 0 to 1. Let's see who, okay. I'm chuckling because I just remembered. This is a question like this in your semester final. There will be no surprises. If you attempt the homework independently, try not to wait for the solutions. Do the homework independently. We're just doing A. It says find the total distance traveled. Who, if anybody, recalls the definition of distance? Yes, Mr. Javedi.
What's the absolute value of the velocity?
The integral of the. Thank you. Write this down, please. If you remove the integral, it becomes displacement. So distance is defined A to B, absolute value of B of t dt. And some of you got lost points on the test. I don't know if some of you have had a look at your chapter 5 test performance. You did not account for the absolute value. You were just calculating displacement. You thought you were finding distance. That's the definition. Is that clear? Who remembers how we find absolute value of a function? The integral. So the answer is 0 to 1. It says from 0 to 1. Absolute value 3t squared minus t dt. Nobody speaks. Who remembers what we do in the very first step? What do we find? The concept is this: all areas need to turn positive. So how do we know where the cutoffs are? Mr. Banchan?
Find the zeros.
Thank you. Find the x-intercepts of the function. So 3t squared minus t equal to 0. So t equals 0 and 1/3. So should we break up the integral at 1/3? So 0 to 1/3, 3t squared minus t dt. I'm making a mistake. Plus integral 1/3 to 1, 3t squared minus t dt. Why is this incorrect? The absolute value of each of them, because I need to turn each area positive. Okay. I'm not going to do the entire problem because that's a big concept. So I've dealt with the calculus. So I'll just do the first one. Is that clear? I made it easy. What's the integral of 3t squared? Just t cubed. What's the integral of t? T squared over 2. Lower limit, upper limit. Okay, slow down. What's 1/3 cubed? 1 over 27. Okay, slow down. What's 1/3 squared? Divide by 2. 180. Is everybody okay there? Absolute value though. Is that clear? For those of you not aware of it, you're not looking at the numbers, look at me. Is 1 over 27 clearly smaller than that number? So that's where the absolute value kick in. And just say, do your favorite thing, Mr. McQueen, finish. Okay. Take the absolute value and then add it to that guy. That guy is positive. And I'm positive about it. But my focus is on the calculus. This is the calculus. The rest of it is this algebra. Alright. Let's do a couple of problems on. I give you a velocity function. Guys, I will not do any math. I will focus on the concept. Is that clear? I'll show you what to do, but we won't do any calculus. Like an idiot in the other class, we wasted a lot of time. Margin, this is a crazy problem where it was in the middle of something. Remember that problem? Okay. We're not going to do math. This is a bad problem. Okay. So write on A. Oh, in your notebooks, if you already put notes, just write given velocity graph. So I'm giving you a velocity graph. So we're discussing A, and you will realize, oh, the other class graded this test. And I'm just letting you know, the chapter 5 test had all of these questions. They had 5 of the 8 questions. I said no surprises. So we're doing part A. It says, calculate the total displacement from 0 to 10. So in your notebooks, just write down displacement 0 to 10. Okay, so first thinking. Who remembers the concept of displacement? It is the change in position. I love you, Yunus. So here's the definition of displacement. It's S of 10 minus S of 0. Okay. Make a note, please. It's the change in position. Okay, I'm deliberately trying to confuse you. But that's a velocity graph, and I don't know this. I don't know S of 10, I don't know S of 0. So how do I answer the question? Rewrite, very smart. Now let's do net change, which is integral 0 to 10 S dash. Yay! What do we know S dash as? V of t. Can I just find the area in the curve for the V of t function? So I'm just going to write find area. This is area. Find the area, good to go. So you start by saying, but I don't know that. Maybe I should rewrite. Okay, nobody speaks. Now, again, I encourage you to come and have a look at your test to see how well you did, or where your errors were made. There are students who did not know how to write units. The question clearly says, show the distance, state units. There are kids writing all kinds of garbage units. And let me show you. This is the displacement, or it is the change in position. By the way, the unit of velocity is meters per second. So what are the units here? Meters. This is the change in position. You don't have to think too hard. Don't say, I'm just going to I'm feeling like meters per second cube. Punch in the face. Where's this cube coming from? Like, are you taking the derivative of acceleration? Where is meters per second cube from? Okay, write on B, please. B says, oh, we just discussed this. Copy on B, please. Just write on distance from 7 to 14. Other ways. What's the definition of distance again? The integral. Oh, it's 7 to 14. 7 to 14. Absolute value of V of t dt. And again, I'm telling you, a common mistake of students that made errors in this problem, they forgot to take absolute value. So look at the board, please. So let me show you what the function is. Here's the function. It says from 7 to 14. So this is 7, this is 14. Can I find that area? Can I find that area? But I make this area positive and then add them up. It's okay, don't subtract them. Okay, just make a note to yourselves. Add positive areas only. Okay, the area should turn positive. This is the absolute value of velocity. Keep in mind, it's basically going forwards and backwards, rightwards and leftwards. Okay, write down C, please. In your notebook, just say average velocity is 0 to 10. Oh, before we move on, units. We found the distance traveled. Units, meters. Okay. Again, units carried half a point for each of those questions. So if you did not know units, you kept losing half a point over and over again. C says, find the average velocity. Interpret it exactly the way it's written. So how do you interpret average velocity? It's an interval 0 to 10. Over 10 minus 0, integral 0 to 10, V of t. Interpret it exactly the way it's written. Is that just the area? And we're good to go. Now I warned you, and I can't even chuckle. I said, in spite of me telling you, at least 3 kids will make a mistake. 3 kids made this mistake. Watch. They forgot to bring down the 1/10. They wrote 1/10 there, and they forgot to bring it down to the last step. And I warned you about it. It's average velocity. Oh, stop. Let's discuss units. So I'm helping you. It's the average velocity. So what are my units? Meters per second. Meters per second. If you're writing good notes, can you draw an arrow? It's from velocity. It's average velocity. Okay, I'm blowing your mind. I'm giving you time to rewrite that expression. Rewrite that expression using your knowledge of calculus. It says integral of 0 to 10 V of t dt. Reinterpret that so we have another relationship. Okay, who gets it? S of 10 minus S of 0. I'm using net chain because V of t is S dash of t. Oh! Let's be smart. Let's reinterpret it. What does that guy remind you of? Of the position. So write this down. It is the average rate of change of, well, it looks like MSET. Position. You don't need to know any physics. That is the MSET for the position function. So the average rate of change of position. And that's meters over seconds. So it's meters per second. The concept remains the same. Okay. Copy down D, please. It says calculate and interpret 3 to 10 A of t. And then we'll discuss units. Okay, I'm going to answer the question as some of you did during the test. First of all, tell me, I'm like, obviously, I'm like, what are you doing? Or why are you doing this? I say average acceleration. That's what kids did. That was the most common error kids made on that question. There were no surprises. This was given 2 days before the test, and that question showed up, and I said, interpret that. And kids are writing average acceleration. What word is wrong over there? Why are you writing average? Do you see 1 over b minus 8? Why are you writing average? It's an easy problem. Why are you writing? So now look at me. The correct answer is, I cannot interpret this. I'm letting you know I cannot interpret this. But stop! Can we rewrite that? Okay, rewrite it, and then the interpretation appears. I do not know what that function is. Okay. Can we rewrite it? Because what's A of t after all? V dash of t. Therefore, that is V of 10 minus V of 3. And many students are looking here and saying, what the hell is that? That is not average acceleration. So it is the change in velocity. The answer shows up. It is a change in velocity. So write that down. You cannot write the word average unless you see a 1 over b minus 8. That's the change in velocity. Oh! And kids made an error. Because they got this wrong, the units were wrong. So I don't know what the units there are. But what's the unit here? Meters per second. It's a change in velocity. Another thing. Put your pencils down, please. The question says calculate this. I'm going to confuse you. Tell me why I'm obviously blatantly wrong. I find the area under the curve from 3 to 10. Why is that wrong? Why is that rubbish? Thank you. It says acceleration. Well, that's the velocity function. Please slow down and think about what's given. So do you understand? Finding the area from 3 to 10 for the acceleration function, for the velocity function is wrong. But oh, stop! Is that just V of 10 minus V of t? Can I just read the graph for V of 10 and V of 3? So it's a dumbass easy graph. Because they gave you the V of t graph. Okay. Have a look at E, please. It says calculate and interpret in 2 ways. Again, I can show you the chapter 5 test. Virtually every one of these questions was on the test. It says 1/5 interval 8 to 13 A of t dt. Once again, we just discussed this. This is the area under the curve for the acceleration function, but I do not know the acceleration function. But first we can interpret it easily. It is the average acceleration. So we have one interpretation out of the way. It is the average acceleration. Oh, smart kids. It's the average acceleration. So what are my units? Meters per second squared. You don't have to overthink. It's the average acceleration. Okay. Then it says, but interpret it in another way. So we should rewrite it. A of t is V dash of t. Therefore, the interpretation becomes 1 over 5 V of 13 minus. Oh! Isn't 5 nothing but 13 minus 8? So it is the average rate of change of the velocity function. It looks like MSET. Average rate of change of the velocity function. And we already got the units out of the way, meters per second, because the average acceleration. If you see 1 over something, it's like average of something. Okay, we began with this problem. Eunice, shut up. Let's see who other than Eunice remembers how to do this. Oh, both of you shut up. Eunice also shut up. It makes no sense. But more importantly, Eunice, shut up. She's going to give the answer away and nobody will think. Okay, we began by this problem. It says calculate and interpret S of 14 minus S of 10. Keep in mind, I do not know the S function. I do not know the S function. Is that given? Is that given? So, but we can interpret it though. I'm giving you the change in position. Smart kids, what's another definition of change in position? Okay, units. Displacement. We did it. Look, 5 minutes ago. Look at your notes. That was part A. Now do you understand why Smartly said, shut up. Should have given the answer away, others would have thought. Again, that's change in position. I will accept it. But the change in position is also called displacement. Therefore, what are my units? Meters. Now remember, I cannot calculate this. Therefore, we should rewrite 10 to 14 as dash, which is V of t. Yay! Can I find the area of the curve now? Just make a note. That is just area. Okay, ultimo problema like this. Look at G, please. Look at G, please. Stay with me. It says find the average rate of change of velocity from A to 18. Again, the average rate of change. So those of you who want to ace the final. So we're doing a fairly thorough review of chapter 5, and you'll see corresponding questions for your homework. So make sure you do your homework. Of velocity. You have questions, please come and see me. Don't suffer in silence, like I don't get any of this, but I'm just going to, just flog myself. I'm going to take a whip and just hit myself. As if I'm from, Iran. Not Iran. Actually, that's true, Iran. Shiites do that. Shiites do that. They take a whip and they whip themselves for Imam Ali.
Oh, you're talking about chains?
Yeah, chains.
They do,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I wouldn't say whip.
Yeah, that's like you're whipping yourself with chains. Yeah. Oh, harsh! If I show pictures, they will faint. Have you seen pictures of that? Huh? Show you? Really? Okay. No. But be clear. Filipinos know what I'm talking about. Again, guys, I'm just well read. So, guys, Catholics during Easter, I think Easter. So, how many know in the Philippines? People try to, Catholics, Filipinos are very devout Catholics, if you're a devout Catholic.
Yeah.
Okay, you actually kind of reproduce the passion of the Christ, which is you drag a heavy cross through the streets. Alright? Some really fanatics will even nail themselves. Alright? So in the same way, so you can Google it. There are pictures, so I'm talking to the Shia thing about Imam Ali. They will kind of whip themselves to a frenzy. Their backs will be just bloody. Seriously. And they'll be walking through the streets, just whipping themselves. And chanting. So the pictures are just gory. They're from a horror film. And for those of you not aware, it's not just one guy. There'll be a procession of people just whipping themselves.
It's supposed to represent what actually happened.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, how did I get to that? I'm usually... Oh, no. I was saying, I said make sure you do your homework, otherwise you're punishing yourself. Anyway, moving on. It says, so is that just V of 18? It's not to go right to left. V of 18 minus V of 8 over 18 minus 8. Alright? Oh! Is that on the velocity graph? Can I just read off each of these?
Yeah.
Is that clear? Okay. Oh, by the way, what are my units? What are my units on the top? And that's time. So, meters per second squared. For those of you who don't see it, look at me. I'm blowing your minds. Can I rewrite it this way? Ooh, what am I writing here? AOV. Is that average acceleration? Meters per second squared. Okay. Guys, if you look into your backpacks, last problem of the day, we're doing a calculator problem. Take out your calculators. Okay, last problem. We're doing a word problem. Okay, shh. It's very similar to yesterday's homework problem. Okay. No. Oh my God. How cute. All of you are just grabbing a calculator. First do some writing, you scoundrels. Like you're not going to directly do this. You're going to write something. Now, read the problem with me, please. Everybody. Shh. This is the last problem. Read the problem with me. It says the amount of garbage. Shh. The amount of garbage being processed in tons is changing at the rate R of T equals blah, 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 where T is measured in days. Initially, there are 30 tons at the dump. Stop. Who remembers what we always do for these kind of word problems? You can write a relationship, define the original function. Can't give you anything. So, what should the original function be called? A of T. Let A of T be the amount of garbage in the dump at time T. Therefore, A dash of T is R of T. Is everybody okay there? So that's what you do for these word problems. Oh, they say initially there are 30 tons in the dump. So what are they giving you there? A of 0 is 30. Now we just went over it 20 minutes ago. The question says, oh bloody hell, they actually tell you that. I thought the question would say, find the maximum minimum in the interval, but I'd say absolute, okay? So how do we always find absolute maximum? Evaluate the function at the endpoints and critical points. So we're going to evaluate A of T. Okay, let's see who remembers. What was that expression on A of T? A of T equals, very good, A of 0 plus integral 0 to T A dash, which is that clear? Is that the net change corollary? So we use the net change corollary, correct? So A of 0 is nothing but 30, correct? What else do we need to find? A of, read the question, A of 5. Okay. So I'm going to show the work, see if you're okay with it. So A of 0, which is 30, plus integral 0 to 5 R of T. And what is the other thing I should evaluate? This is the endpoints. Critical points. Can we graph it? That's the derivative function. Can you find the critical point? Hint. We can actually, it's the first critical point. You'll have to zoom in. Oh, I think I made it. No, I think it worked out. Okay. Enter that function into F1.
Bless you.
Silly girl, just hit delete twice. We have a shortcut.
Oh, that's it.
There you go. If you delete twice, it'll say, do you want to delete all graphs? Okay, guys, use parentheses, x cubed minus 2x squared, close parentheses, times e to the power of negative x. Type it in slowly in capitals. And you may have to zoom in to find the critical point.
No.
Oh my god, you're so cute. He's writing the integral in the function. No, silly. You just type in the function into F1. What are you doing? The integral will go to calculator tomorrow.
0.
Okay, those of you finished, what was the critical one? T equals, was it 2? I think it was just 2, right?
I was just saying.
Correct? It was just 2? Alright, and finally A of 2, which is 30 plus integral 0 to 2 R of T dt. Okay, everybody, stop. I'm dividing the class into two groups. You guys are group 1. Everybody, you guys are group 1. You guys are group 2. Each of you do one calculation. So go to calculate mode. So you guys, the first group is doing A of 5. You guys are doing A of 2. So enter it the way you see it. 30 plus integral 0 to 5 f1 of x dx. Go to calculate mode, silly boy. Delete. 30 plus integral menu calculus. Numerical integral. Yeah. Lower limit 0. Okay, stop. How many of you found A of 5 or 20, 30, 9081 tons, units. Those of you this 29.574 tons. Write a conclusion, please. Some of you lost points because you didn't write it. You did the math, but not a conclusion. We have an absolute max of 30.9 tons at equal to 5, an absolute min of 29.574 tons at equal to 2. Is that clear? If you're confused with the calculator, you've forgotten, ask me. Okay. Mr. Viewer, just text the function in graph mode, but calculate it. Okay, thank you. Oh, I forgot. And we are? Thank you. I don't know you, but that was a fairly exhaustive review. Yeah. Guys. Some of you are holding on to the charging cable. I need the back, please. Charging cable. If you borrow a charging cable, I need the back.
Bye, Robert.
Thank you. Guys, I need a charging cable. Please borrow a charging cable. I don't have to.
Poor baby, are you